So today we will discuss three part. The first thing is we will discuss the type of competitive advantage. Okay? And the second is the new concept, the strategic group. And the third one, when we complete the industry analysis, so we move to the macro environment and we will know how to analyze that environment with the new model, the PESTO model. So those are the three parts of our lecture today. Okay, so let me share my screen. Wait a little. Okay, can you see? Can you see the screen I share? Lecture 5. I'm sharing my screen, so can you see it? Okay, yeah. Okay. As you see, um, first of all, I want to introduce you the two type of competitive advantage. Okay, the first one is the cost leadership. Okay? The second one is the differentiation. Okay? The firm need these two type of advantage so that the firm can deal with the competitive forces. Okay? Of course, the way the advantage help the firm to deal with competitive forces in different way. Okay? First of all, overall cost leadership. This type of advantage is very popular in the 1970. In the 1970, because at that time, the firm tried to reduce the production cost through the accumulation of the high volume production. So when the firm produce more, they can learn from the failures. They can improve the productivity through the improved layout of the factory, improve the production method, etc. So the cost will goes down when the firm accumulate more production quantity. So it's very popular in the past. So this advantage is really matters because it's help the firm to cope with the rival. How this advantage help the firm to deal with the rival, because if the competitors try to reduce the price and the competitors engage in the price war, so every firm will lose the profit, right? Because this is a lose-lose game, not win-win game. However, if the firm have the lowest cost structures, so the firm still can earn the profit, even the other competitors suffer the loss, because the lowest cost structures. That is the first competitive force. So I move to the second, potential competitors. And as you know, the substantial entry barriers is the cost advantage. When the firm can reduce the price due to the large scale. So the potential entrants, they have to enter into the industry with the cost disadvantage. If they don't want to accept that disadvantage, they have to enter the industry with the large scale. However, the large scale is mean the entrants have to spend a lot of money, a huge investment into this large scale operation, and it's so risky because the entrants don't know how to sell the large volume because they have just entered the industry. So it's so risky. So if the firm have the lowest cost structures, so the firm have more option of pricing. So, and the firm can set the cost the price lower than competitors' production costs. The next efficient firm, right? So because of that lower price, it will prevent the entrant entering into the industry. And the third force is the buyers. If the buyers have the highest bargaining powers because they purchase a large quantity, a big quantity from the industry, so they have market power and they face a low switching cost, so they have the high bargaining power. So they try to push the price down and they command the low price while they ask the high quality, right? Because of this, they extract as much values as possible, and there's very less value to the firm, right? However, if your firm have the cost advantage, you have the lowest cost structures, so you still have profit. Even your competitors lost money, right? Because your cost structure is lower. And the second efficient firm exits the industry, your firm still stay in the industry because of the lowest cost structures. So, and I move to the supplier. Suppliers, if they have if they are if the industry of the supplier is concentrated and our industry is very fragmented, so the suppliers may have the bargaining powers and they will increase their price. As a result, our production costs, the industry production cost, will increase, right? However, our firm can absorb the increase in production costs because our cost structures, of course, they will rise, they will increase. However, less than the competitors' costs increase, right? Because our cost structures is lower than that of competitor. So our firm can absorb the cost shock better than the competitors. And the last force is the substitute. And if the substitute can improve the ratio of performance to the price, if the performance of the substitute improve over time, or its price will down, so the ratio will improve, and the customer will start considering to switch to substitute. And if our firm have the cost advantage, so it's allow the firm to set a low price. And the lower price will improve our ratio, the ratio of performance to the price of our product, right? So the customer will compare between our ratio and substitute ratio. And of course, our ratio is still better, is still bigger than the substitute ratio. Okay? So our firm still survive. Okay? For example, the Walmart as a giant retail system. So the Walmart they operate at a massive scale, and it have the world class logistics. Okay? And the distribution and inventory system is very efficient. And the Walmart also minimize the cost for decoration in the supermarket, and so that they can press the cost. Yeah. And it have the lowest cost structures in the industry. Yeah. And even they have it's faced with the customer who have the high bargaining power and who always try to request the low price, right? However, the Walmart still have the superior performance, right? Because the Walmart have the low cost structures. The margin is very thin. However, the scale, the large scale, help the Walmart have the superior performance. Okay? Even the very thin margin. Okay? So, of course, if the firm want to build the cost advantage, so there's some requirement. Okay? The first requirement is the firm have to control the cost. Okay? Have to develop ability in tightening the cost. Okay? The production cost and the overhead costs. Okay? And there are some functional, there are some business function that the firm can reduce the price. For example, the service, the after-sale service, okay? The sales force, the advertisement, okay? And if they can minimize the cost in this function, so they can reduce the cost, the cost of the total cost. Okay? And if the firm can is good at the engineering the production process, or the product engineering, it means they can find some step in the whole process that are abandoned. Right? The step that don't add value to the customer, however, it still incur the cost. So that step will be removed, right? And the firm will have an optimal process. Okay? Or the firm can improve the product design. So the firm can remove some component from the product. With that one, so the firm can manufacture the product with ease, and the firm can reduce the cost because some component was removed from the design. So the firm can save the cost and can produce the product faster. So the firm can serve the majorities of the customer group in the market. Okay? So they try to serve the broad market with the hope that they can increase the operation scale, right? Because when you aggregate the quantity demanded by the segment, so you have a huge you have this huge scale, okay? And the large scale is very important for the cost advantage, because the large scale can help your firm to spread the cost, especially the fixed cost. Okay? So you can reduce the average fixed cost. Okay? And and your firm also is down with the huge capital, because your firm have to spend upfront. When you your firm have to spend a lot of money to buy high efficient and modern facility, machine, and factory. Okay? And these are the upfront investment. It means you have to pay right now, and you gain the benefit in the future. Okay? And the upfront investment is very large. Okay? Or your firm can aggressively reduce the price, okay? Because you have to lower the price, lower than the competitors, and even lower than the substitute, so that you can improve the ratio of performance to the price of your product. Okay? And you and all your firm must willing to accept the loss in the short term, because you have to make your product more attractive by reduce the price. Okay? So and when you reduce the price, so your margin gets smaller. Okay? However, the customer will gain more. Okay? Gain more when they pick your product rather than the competitors or substitute product. Okay? So with that one, so you can improve the market share. And when your market share increase, you can operate at the large scale. And the large scale help your firm to reduce the price, to improve the cost structure. Okay, so that is the logic. And there's some your firm also should have some other advantage. For example, if your firm have the favorable access to the raw material that the other competitors don't have, right? You can save the cost and the time to travel to travel to collect the raw material, right? And you can save costs. And this is the advantage that is independent of scale. Okay? And there's one more thing. When you try to reduce the cost, to improve the cost structures, so you still make sure that your product, your service have acceptable qualities. Because when you improve the cost structures, you improve the process by removing some step from the process. So when you remove some step, it means some values will be removed. Okay? And the customer can have not that value. Okay? And if your firm is obsessed with the cost, okay, so they will ignore the quality of the product. Okay, and when the quality level is unacceptably low, so the customer will leave you, even your firm have the lowest price. Okay. Okay, and there's some risk associated with the cost advantage. Okay, first, the cost advantage can be easily imitated or eroded over time. Okay, because the cost advantage can is derived from your scale, right, or your learning, or your process innovation. Okay? And the competitors, they also accumulate the production volume over time, and they can learn, they can improve their production process. Right? Your firm can learn. The competitors also can learn. Okay? And especially when your firm adopt the best practice in the industry that is that are available to every firm in the industry. Okay? So, and if your competitors, they can improve the quality so that they can increase the market share. So competitors also operate at the large scale, yeah? And they can have the cost due to the large scale, economic of scale. Yeah? So that is the first one. And the second one is technology change. Technologies is a factor in the macro environment. And when there's some technological change, so it can make your modern facility, modern factory obsolete, right? Because to have the lower cost structures, you need the highly efficient facilities or equipment or factory, right? And modern technologies. For example, you can see the budget airline like Vietjet, they always purchase the modern aircraft, right? Because that aircraft, the modern aircraft, have the engine that help the Vietjet save a lot of money on the fuel, right? So the firm with the cost advantage, they rely on the modern technologies, on the modern facility and equipment. However, when technology change, so it can make your modern facilities and equipment obsolete, right? So at that time, your firm have no cost advantage anymore. Okay. Okay, this is the first advantage, the cost advantage. So you have any question? Is it clear? Okay, I will move to the second advantage. The second advantage is when your product or service is perceived by the customer unique across the industry, right? And the customer can distinguish your product and the competitor's product, right? So, um, and your product and service can have many. Your firm have many opportunity to differentiate your firm, your product and the competitor product. For example, your product and the competitor product have the different features. Okay? You have some features that competitors don't have, and vice versa. Okay, and if your product and those of the competitors are the same, so your firm still makes something different, okay, by provide the different service. Okay, you can provide the different service, okay? Or you can have a more dense dealer network. Okay? For example, the Caterpillar tractors. This is a manufacturer of the tractor. Okay? And this firm is known well for the dense dealer network. It means it's easy to buy the tractors, okay? Easy to buy its product, okay? Because the network of dealer distribution system is very dense, okay? It's everywhere. And the second one is the Caterpillar tractors also hold a huge spare part. Right? If the tractors is broken down and it need some spare part to replace, okay? So the customer don't have to wait a long time for the spare part, right? Because the Caterpillar tractors hold a big inventory of spare part. Okay? Because of that, it can reduce the break time of the customer, and the customer can run their business smoothly, okay, without a long interruption. Okay, so the Caterpillar successfully differentiate its offering, its product from the data competitor. Okay, and 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 when and there's one note that when your firm try to improve and differentiate, improve your product and make your product unique or better than the competitors. So you still have to care about the cost, eh? Because when you differentiate your product, improve your product, so you are trying to lift up the willingness to pay, okay? Bring more, provide the customer with more benefit. However, to do so, your firm have to spend more money. Okay? Spend more money. You have to buy the highest qualities input, okay? And you have to hire more labor to do some step in the whole process. Okay? So it costs more money, and your production cost will increase. Okay? And of course, the production cost will determine your price. Okay? And you have to increase the price. And of course, the customer, they have to compare between the price and their willingness to pay. And if the surplus is gained from your product is lower than your competitors, or even the substitute product, so they will leave you. Okay? Remember, in two cases, cost advantage and differentiation advantage, the firm always care about the surplus gained by the customer, okay? Decrease the cost, but still care about the quality. If you improve the willingness to pay, you still have to care about your costs. Okay? So that is a differentiation advantage. And why the differentiation advantage really matters, and it's very important so that the firm can improve the business performance, the profit. Because the cost advantage, the differentiation advantage help the firm to deal with the competitive forces. Okay? For example, uh, mm, the differentiation advantage isolate the firm from the competitors thanks to the unique and the brand loyalty. Okay? Because uh, the customer, they have the the brand loyalty. They willing to buy some product from some brand. Okay? They loyal to that brand. Even the brand sell the product with a slightly higher price than the competitors. But it doesn't matter because the customer really care about the brand, not only the price. Okay, so it's helped to reduce the intense rivalry between your firm and competitor. Okay? And the customer can don't consider your product and the competitor's product are interchangeable. Okay? And they have more criteria to make decision besides the price. Okay? And in other words, they the customer will less sensitive to the price. How about the potential competitors? Because the customer, they are loyal to the brand and they consider the uniqueness of the product is really matters to them. So they will not switch to the product of the new entrant, except that new entrant have to spend a lot of money and time to replicate the brand or replicate the reputation and replicate the capability of your firm. And of course, this effort take time and take money. So the buyers will have the high switching costs because your product will meet their demand. Because your product help them to solve the problem the best. So they will have high switching costs. And they will this will result in the lower sensitive to the price. The suppliers. So if the supplier charge the input for the higher price, however, when your product is unique, so you can buy your product with a premium price, right? Higher than competitor price, and the increase in the price is larger than the increase in the cost. Right? The suppliers increase their price, so your cost increase, of course, and your competitors also experience the same increase in cost. However, because your product is differentiated, and you can sell your product with a higher price, so the increase in price is larger than increase in cost. Yes? So you still have more money than your competitors. Next one is a substitute. So the same. The customer, they really they stick to your product because they are satisfied and their problem is solved very well by your product. So it's forced the substitute product have to spend a lot of money and time to improve the ratio of performance to the price, so that the customer will switch to the substitute. And as you see, we have some risks are associated with differentiation advantage. The first one, differentiation, sometimes is no longer valued by your customer, right? Because some features, some product features, or some service that really matters to the customer in the past. However, when the preference of the customer change, so the customer don't appreciate that feature anymore. So that is a risk. The second is when the price you charge the customer is higher than the values they perceive, right? Because you want to you try to do something unique, much better than the other alternative in the market, and it's improve and it's lift up the cost. It's too expensive to produce, and you charge the premium price, and unfortunately the premium price is higher than the willingness to pay. So the customer will refuse to buy your product. Okay? And especially when the whole economy is going through the economic downturn. So the budget of the customer is reduced. Okay? So it's very dangerous. And the next is your competitors can also copy your unique features. So when they successfully copy, so your product is identical to their product. There's no differentiation anymore. And the last one is your competitors will no, you have to compete against the firm with the cost advantage. Because sometimes your product is unique and the customer really appreciate and it's matter to the customer and they willing to pay the high much a premium price. However, if that customer they find another choice, that choice they can have the product with much lower price. So there is a huge gap between the differentiation advantage and cost advantage, and we call strategic gap. So if the gap is big enough, so the customer will refuse to buy your product. They buy the product with the lowest price. Even they still appreciate the unique features of your product. However, but they make a switch to the product of the firm with a cost advantage because there's a huge gap between the two advantage. So that is the risk of the differentiation. So we already walked through two advantage. Do you have any question? Okay. If we already discussed two types of advantage. So if I combine the type of advantage with the scale or the scope of competition, so we can develop the four type of strategic, four type of competitive strategies. If your firm try to serve the whole market, or in other words, you have the broad operation. So you can try to create a cost advantage or differentiation advantage at the broad scale. And on the other side, you can narrow your operation, narrow your choice. You just focus on some market segment, or you can focus on one product line, rather than many product line. You focus just on one product line, or you can serve a lot of market segment, and you can produce a lot of product line, but just in one geographical market. So it means you focus, you make a choice, and your operation is smaller, is much smaller than the previous one. So, and if you combine the type of advantage and the competition scope, so we can generate four type of competitive strategies. The first one is the the cost advantage at a broad scale, okay? Differentiation at a broad scale, and the cost advantage at the small scale, and differentiation at the small scale. Okay? And so there's some the logic of the cost advantage and differentiation advantage at the small scale is the same at the broad scale. Okay? And I just tell you about some risks associated with the focus strategies. Okay? The first risk is your choice. The market segment become less attractive. Okay? Less attractive, or it gets smaller. Because of the change in the customer preference, the change in technologies. Okay? So that is the first risk. The second risk is you can compete against the broad competitors. Okay? Because the broad competitors, they also have the same type of advantage as you, but they operate at a large scale. And when they operate at large scale, they have of course they have the much better cost structure than you, right? So you can compete against them, right? So it's easy to lose the game. Yeah? So I have just finished discussing about the 4 type of strategies, competitive strategies, which are based on the 2 type of advantage, and the competition scope. Okay, so you have any question? Um, Vậy thì tôi vừa giới thiệu về về 2 cái lợi thế cạnh tranh, và 2 cái lợi thế cạnh tranh này nó kết hợp với cái phạm vi cạnh tranh thì nó sẽ tạo ra 4 loại chiến lược cạnh tranh. Và 4 cái loại chiến lược cạnh tranh này á, thì nó sẽ làm nó sẽ giúp doanh nghiệp đối phó được với những cái áp lực cạnh tranh. Và tất nhiên là mỗi mỗi cái nó sẽ theo cái mỗi mỗi cái loại lợi thế cạnh tranh nó sẽ theo cái cách thức theo mỗi loại lợi thế cạnh tranh nó sẽ giúp doanh nghiệp tạo ra được cái suất sinh lời cao khi mà đối phó với các áp lực cạnh tranh theo cái cách khác nhau. Ha. Rồi. Okay, the cost advantage and the differentiation advantage are the 2 main approach to help your firm to have superior performance, but in different way. Okay, in different way. This is a general approach. Okay, so I want to move to another concept. The concept is strategic group. Strategic group. Okay. I define strategic group as a cluster of the firm within the same industry. Okay? It means your industry include multiple competitors. Okay? But we can group them into multiple group. Okay? And the group in the whole industry, they are different. Okay? They are different. However, the firm within one group, they are identical. Okay? Because they are identical, so we decide to group them into one same group. Okay? So, and you can ask a question. Okay, so the firm within the group is similar in terms to what? Okay, in terms to what? So that we can group them into one group. Okay? And there's many dimension, many strategic dimension that we can use to consider whether the firms are identical or not. Okay, and as you see, the first strategic dimension is the price and quality. The second is a decrease of differentiation, cost position, the product range breadth, the geographic coverage, the integration, distribution, etc. Okay, so these are strategic dimension, okay, that we will use to classify the firm, whether or not the firm belong to this group, not the other group. Okay, so I I, I want to discuss in detail some important strategic dimension. Okay? The first one is the specialization. Okay? Specialization is a degree to which the firm focus its effort, its business activity into one line of production or one target customer segment or one geographic market that is served. Okay, the firm can, okay, if the firm's focus, if the firm specialize, so it should choose one of few product line or customer segment, or just one or two geographic market. Okay, so if they specify. Okay, the second dimension is a brand identification. Okay? This is the you and competitors don't use the price as the only weapon to compete. Okay? And the brand identification can achieve through the advertising, through the sales force, or your and a varieties of the other means. Okay? And the second and the third dimension is your firm adopt the push or pull model. Okay, in the push model, you try to develop your brand identification with your customer, okay, directly, and the customer know your brand, okay, and they see they appreciate your brand, okay? So they will come to you to buy the product. So you successfully pull the customer to you, right?
Dạ thầy ơi, dạ thầy ơi, cái xe của thầy hình như nó bị lỗi nên là nó màn hình nó bị đen á thầy.
Rồi, đã hết chưa bạn?
Dạ rồi.
The other models is the push model. Okay? The push model, you don't focus on developing your brand. However, you try to develop the distribution channel, distribution system, so that you can sell your product more, more product. Okay? You operate with the distributor. Okay? You want to push your product toward the customer through your distributor, okay? Rather than pull the customer to you. Okay? And the third dimension is your selection, your choice of the channel. Okay? And you can develop your own distribution channels, your own, or you distribute your product through the distribution system channels of the whole industry. So it's different. And the fifth dimension is the product quality. That is the level of the product quality, and it's related to many business choices. For example, your choice in the raw material, and your features of the product, right? So that so your firm have to choose the level of the product qualities, and this choice will affect other choices, right? And the next dimension is your firm try to produce your input for your own or not. It means you integrate backward. You step in the industry of the suppliers, and you try to produce the input for yourself. You backward integrate. And in some case, you also compete against your suppliers if you produce not only for providing input to your firm, but also sell that input to the market. Or your firm try to develop the channels or the store, so you can distribute your own product. So in this case, you forward integrate, right? So the next dimension is a cost position. Cost position. So the cost position is the extent to which you seek the low cost position in the manufacturing, in the distribution, through the investment in the cost minimizing technologies, equipment. So you want to so you want to how to explain this. You if you want to improve your low cost position, it means the type of advantage your firm want to create, and this matters of the level, high or low. You want to improve your cost position. If you want to have the best cost structures, so you have to make investment into the modern technologies, into the cost minimizing facilities and equipment. So you want to improve your cost position. And cost position is really matters not only to the firm try to create the cost advantage, but also to the firm create a differentiation advantage. Because even when you make your customer willing to pay the much higher price, however, if the price you charge the customer is higher than competitors, so the surplus gained by the customer will decrease. So your firm still have to control the cost, even your firm create this differentiation advantage. And the next dimension is the service. So you you just only provide the customer with your product without any service, okay? Or you want to increase the values of your offering, okay? Besides the profit of the product you sell to the customer, you also provide the auxiliary service. For example, okay, installation service. Okay, when the customer buy the air conditioner, so you will provide the service, installation service. Okay, the or even you can offer some credit to the customer when they don't have when your customer is constrained by the budget. Okay, they don't have enough money at the point they consider to buy your product or not, so you decide to offer the customer with some credit. Okay, so credit is also the service to your main product. Okay, and another dimension is a price policy. That is the relative price position in the market. Okay? And of course, the price is closely related to other variable such as the cost. Okay? Of course, because you have the cost, then you mark up, you have the price. And the price also related to the product qualities, the high quality. Okay? You will ask the premium price. Okay? And another dimension is relationship to the parent's company. If your firm is not a standing alone the firm, but your firm is a strategic business unit of the big corporation. Right? So the relationship between you and the parent's company really matters, and this is the one of important dimension. Yeah? And your firm may have the relationship to the local government and a country. So the firm have many choices amongst this dimension. Okay, so and we will map the whole industry. Okay, the whole industry in by two dimensions. Okay, one dimension on the vertical axis and the other dimension on the horizontal axis. Okay, and with the two dimension, you can you can map the whole industry. Okay, you can position your firm and competitors on the coordinator. Okay, one with the two dimension on two axes. Okay? And the point, each point represent for one firm. Okay, so the point that are closely positioned is mean they are very similar in term of strategic dimension. Okay, and the point that is far away from each other is mean those firm those firm are different in term of dimension, strategic dimension. Okay, and of course the firm closely positioned, so we can consider they are direct competitors because they are the same. Okay, they are in the same group. Okay, and some firm is very far from your firm, so even you and that firm operate are operating in the same industry. However, you and that firm is not direct competitors. Okay, we just are indirect competitor, okay? Because we belong to the different group, okay? So there is a connection between there's connection between the strategic group and the type of competitive strategies. Competitive strategies we can consider as the general as approach, okay, to have the superior performance. Okay? For example, if you want to improve your performance by the cost advantage, that is the one way. Okay? You try to improve your performance by the lower your cost structures. Okay, and you can also improve the performance by make something unique. Okay, and really matter to the customer. Those are the two general. Okay. However, if you just rely on those approach and you do nothing, you just claim that, okay, I want to create a cost advantage so that I can improve the business performance. So that claim is too general, and you cannot you can do anything about that. Okay, if you want to realize, okay, your claim, okay, you have to do something, okay, and you have to design your firm. Okay? You have to design the way how to improve the performance through the cost advantage. Okay, so strategic group is a tool. Okay, because when you say, okay, our firm belong to this strategic group, it means your firm have to commit it to the choices of strategic dimension. Okay, for example, our firm will choose the pull model, not push model. Okay, and our firm focus on one product line, right, to serve the few market segment, right? And our firm try to integrate backward. I produce the input for ourselves, and I offer the full service along with my product, right? So those are the choices that your firm make, and those firms help to improve the cost structures. And when you improve the cost structures better than competitors, so you have cost advantage, right? So you have a very specific plan, right? Not just only the general plan, right? So the strategic group is very important. It's help to specify the general claim, the general statement. Okay, I want to have the cost advantage, or I want to have the differentiation advantage. And of course, with the one claim, cost advantage, so you have multiple way to realize that one. Okay, so that reason you can see in the industry we have the multiple group, okay, not just only one or two, okay? But we just have only two type of advantage: cost and differentiation, right? So that is the relationship between the competitive strategies and strategic group. Okay, and the strategic group is really matters because it's help us to explain the difference in term of rate of return, in term of performance between the firm within the same industry, right? we call the intra-industry variation in rate of return, right? So the 5 competitive forks just explain the variation in rates of return between different industry. However, if we want to find the reason for the intra-industry variation, so the strategic group is very useful. Yeah, it's very useful concept. Okay? And the strategic group also help us to understand, okay, our competitors, okay, who compete with whom. Okay? Some firm are operating in the same industry as us. However, they are not our direct competitors. Okay, so when you map the industry, your industry, so you can easily to find your competitor. Okay, and the last one is the strategic group also give you one more concept, that is mobility barriers. Okay? Mobility barriers, and mobility barriers is a broader than the entry barriers. Okay? The entry barriers is a barrier prevent the potential competitors, prevent the entrant from entering into the industry, right? However, the mobility barriers, they not only prevent the entrant in from a step into the industry, but they also prevent some firm, some competitors from jumping into our group. Okay, because within the one industry we have multiple group, and each group have the different rates of return. Some group can earn 25%, while the other group just earn 10%. And of course, the firm within one group, okay, they want to improve the performance. They have to find a way to enter the group with a high rate of return. Okay, and every firm in that group want to protect their rate of return, want to protect the group. So they have to think the way how to prevent the other firm jump into their group. Okay? And one way to prevent that is they try to build the barriers, and we call mobility barriers. Okay? So the mobility barrier is broader than the entry barrier. Okay? So that is some mobility barrier. Okay. So you have any question? Okay. So I can take one example in the airline industry. In the airline industry, so you can see we have 3 groups in the airline industry. The first group is a full service global airline. The second group is the low cost carriers, and the third one is regional carriers. Okay? We have 3 groups. And how can I map the airline industry? Okay? How can I map the industry? Okay? So the first step is I have to find what strategic dimension that play the most important role in classifying the firm in the industry. Okay, so the first dimension is what is the route. Okay? Route is the broad or the narrow. Okay? And the second is the cost is the full service or the low service. Okay, so the first group contains Singapore Airlines, the Lufthansa. Okay, and this group this Singapore Airlines and Lufthansa is similar into two strategic dimension. Okay, and they both provide a high service, full service. You can have meal and waters when you take a flight with this airline, and of course their cost structure is high. And when their cost structure high, so you have the customer have to pay the premium price for the high service, for the full service. And the second group contain two firms, Ryanair and AirAsia. So these airlines provide you, they eliminate some service, with the purpose of minimize the cost. Want to create a cost advantage. They make sure their cost structures is lowest in compare with the other firm in the industry. And of course, when they have the lower cost, so they can charge the lowest price. And the third one is the regional carrier, so they contain the small national airline. So the characteristic of this group is a narrow route. And you can see there are three groups. Three groups. One firm, if they are not satisfied with the rate of return and they already try its best within that group, however, the performance still go flat. So they have to think a way to jump to another group. Another group that in which they can improve the performance. For example, in the second strategic group, low cost carriers, they can earn up to 25%. While the full service global airline, on average, they can earn around 10%. So the full service airline, of course, they want to improve the performance. However, so they also and they decided to jump into the group of low cost carrier. They create the new brand of airline. Right? New brand of airline. So that is a way to go into the group of the low cost carrier. Of course, step into that industry is not easy because there is existence of mobility barriers. And the typical mobility barriers in this industry is a brand and service expectation, fleet configuration, and the routine of the firm. So it's not easy to step into another group, because every firm in that group, they try to protect the group by lift up the barrier, prevent not only the potential competitors but also the existing competitors from the other groups. So that is I finished presenting the second the second part, strategic group. So you have any question? Ok. Vậy thì tôi vừa đi qua cái phần thứ hai là cái nhóm chiến lược. Vậy thì cái nhóm chiến lược này nó nó là một cái công cụ rất là hay. À, nó là một cái công cụ rất là hay để mình trả lời được cái câu hỏi là vì sao có sự khác biệt giữa các doanh nghiệp trong cùng một ngành về về cái kết quả kinh doanh ha. Ờ, và cái nhóm này á, thì nó nó được định nghĩa là những cái doanh nghiệp nào mà họ giống nhau ở những cái khía cạnh chiến lược quan trọng á. Ví dụ như là ờ, mô hình đẩy và mô hình kéo, rồi là có xu hướng tích hợp về phía trước về phía sau hay không, rồi là họ họ định vị cái ừm, họ định vị là cái chất lượng sản phẩm của họ như nào, ở mức nào, hay là cái vị trí về về chi phí so với các doanh nghiệp khác như thế nào, hay là dịch vụ của họ nó là dịch vụ dịch vụ dịch vụ trọn gói, hay là những dịch vụ mà đã được lược bỏ đi kèm theo cái sản phẩm. Thì tất cả những cái khía cạnh này là những cái khía cạnh rất là quan trọng trong một ngành. Ờ, và và những cái khía cạnh này á, ờ, nó khi mà tất cả các doanh nghiệp á đều phải đưa ra những lựa chọn ở ở các khía cạnh này hết. Và những cái lựa chọn này nó phải nhất quán với nhau. Ờ, nó phải nhất quán với nhau. Và khi mà các doanh nghiệp á, mà họ có cùng những cái lựa chọn này á, thì họ họ sẽ giống nhau ở các lựa chọn này, thì mình sẽ gom họ lại thành thành một nhóm. Ờ, nên là thành viên của một nhóm là họ giống nhau ở ở ở cái khía cạnh là chiến lược này. Ha. Nên và họ giống nhau thì sẽ dẫn tới là họ sẽ cạnh tranh trực tiếp với nhau ha. Nên là mình thấy là những cái doanh nghiệp nằm nằm cùng một chỗ trên cái đồ thị á, trên một cái trục tọa độ á, gần nhau á, là sẽ cạnh tranh trực tiếp với nhau ha. Còn những cái doanh nghiệp mà nằm trên cái trục tọa độ nhưng mà có vị trí nó xa nhau á, thì là họ không có cạnh tranh trực tiếp với nhau ha. Họ không không cạnh tranh trực tiếp với nhau. Ờ, rồi gì nữa. Ờm, rồi cái à cái 4 cái chiến lược cạnh tranh lúc đầu á là dựa dựa vào chi phí, sự khác biệt hóa và ở cái phạm vi rộng hẹp khác nhau. Thì đó chỉ là những cái tuyên bố rất là chung chung về cái cách thức mà để doanh nghiệp cải thiện được cái suất sinh lời thôi. Ví dụ như là tôi muốn tạo ra cái suất sinh cái lợi thế về chi phí, dẫn đầu về chi phí, hay là tôi có lợi thế về sự khác biệt hóa ha. Nhưng mà những cái đó chỉ là những cái định hướng thôi, nó là những cái tuyên bố chung chung thôi. Nhưng mà doanh nghiệp á, họ mà muốn triển khai á, thì họ phải cụ thể hóa những cái tuyên bố đó ra ha. Và cụ thể hóa ra bằng cách nào? Thì cụ thể hóa nó ra bằng những cái lựa chọn ha, bằng những cái lựa chọn ở các khía cạnh chiến lược như tôi vừa nói. Ví dụ như là nếu mà một doanh nghiệp mà muốn tạo ra một cái lợi thế cạnh tranh về chi phí, thì những cái lựa chọn của họ ở các khía cạnh này là cái gì? Ví dụ như là ở cái khía cạnh mà về tích hợp đi, hội nhập đi, thì họ sẽ hội nhập về phía sau để họ kiểm soát, họ tự sản xuất nguyên liệu đầu vào để họ kiểm soát về chi phí. Rồi, rồi là họ họ về về cái khía cạnh về dịch vụ đi, họ sẽ tối thiểu hóa cái dịch vụ, chỉ giữ lại những dịch vụ nào mà khách hàng cho là rất là quan trọng thôi, họ sẽ lược bỏ đi. Ờ, rồi, rồi cái lựa chọn về vị thế, về chi phí, họ sẽ tập trung cải thiện cái vị thế về chi phí này. Thì vậy thì tất cả những cái lựa chọn vừa rồi á, nó đều góp phần vào cái mục tiêu chung là giúp doanh nghiệp tạo ra được cái lợi thế cạnh tranh về về chi phí ha. Đó, thì nên là giữa giữa cái chiến lược cạnh tranh và nhóm chiến lược này nó có mối quan hệ là như vậy. Ờ, nhóm chiến lược này là nó sẽ giúp cụ thể hóa được những cái định hướng, những cái định hướng trong việc là mình có được suất sinh lời bằng cách nào. Ờ, rồi, ờm, và cái nhóm chiến lược này á, nó cũng nó cũng đưa ra thêm, nó đi kèm theo một cái khái niệm nữa là cái rào cản cái rào cản dịch chuyển. Cái rào cản dịch chuyển này á, thì nó sẽ rộng hơn cái rào cản gia nhập như bữa trước mình nói. Tại vì á, cái rào cản gia nhập là nó sẽ tập trung vào việc là bảo vệ ngành, a, bảo vệ một cái ngành nói chung, trước những cái sự xâm nhập của những cái đối thủ tiềm năng, những cái đối thủ mà chưa chưa có trong ngành nhưng mà muốn vào ngành. Nhưng mà còn cái, ờ, rào cản di chuyển này á, thì nó không những bảo vệ, không những phòng ngừa những cái đối thủ tiềm năng muốn vào ngành, mà nó còn phòng những cái doanh nghiệp á, đã trong ngành rồi nhưng mà muốn nhảy từ nhóm này qua nhóm kia. Ờ, và các doanh nghiệp á, trong trong cùng một nhóm á, thì họ sẽ ờ, xây dựng cái rào cản này để phòng phòng ngừa hai hai đối tượng, đối thủ tiềm năng và những đối thủ thuộc thuộc những nhóm khác. Đó, và cái đặc tính của cái cái, cái khái niệm mà nhóm chiến lược này á, thì nó là một cái mình cũng áp dụng cái mô hình năm áp lực cạnh tranh, nhưng mà ở một cái cấp độ thấp hơn thôi. Thay vì lúc trước là cấp độ rộng là ngành, thì bây giờ là mình tập trung vào là một cái cấp độ là nhóm. Và một nhóm á, thì nó cũng sẽ có những cái áp lực tới từ những cái khách hàng khác nhau, nhà cung ứng luôn, rồi đối thủ cạnh tranh. Tại vì khi mà một cái đối thủ họ mà muốn vào một ngành thì họ sẽ thấy trong ngành đó có rất là nhiều nhóm, vậy thì mình sẽ vào cái nhóm nào? À, vậy thì họ cũng có cái áp lực đối với đối thủ cạnh tranh, rồi áp lực từ những cái nhóm khác nữa, à, những cái nhóm khác. Mà nếu mà những nhóm mà nó càng gần nhau thì cái mức độ cạnh tranh nó càng gay gắt, vì nó giống nhau ở các khía cạnh chiến lược. Và bản thân là nội bộ trong từng nhóm nó cũng có cái sự cạnh tranh với nhau ha. Rồi, đó là cái phần tóm tắt về về cái khái niệm thứ hai là nhóm chiến lược. Rồi, các bạn có thắc mắc gì không? Ok. Ờ, cái cái khái niệm này nó cũng khá nó cũng khá khó để diễn đạt, mà mình học qua online này thì nó cũng hạn chế rất là nhiều. Ha. Nên là ờ, nên là có gì không hiểu thì các bạn cứ hỏi để tôi giải đáp nhé. Còn trên này thì tôi không có dùng bảng, không 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 minh họa được những cái mối quan hệ, chỉ đơn thuần là nói chay thôi, nên là rất là khó để để diễn đạt một cái khái niệm, nó cũng khá khó, nhưng mà nó rất là quan trọng. À, nó quan trọng vì sao? Vì nó giúp mình trả lời được những câu hỏi mà phân tích ngành ở cấp độ ngành mình không trả lời được. Rồi, ok, vậy mình nghỉ giải lao nửa tiếng nhé các bạn. Nửa tiếng sau mình quay lại. Trong lúc đó các bạn suy nghĩ xem, trong lúc đó các bạn suy nghĩ xem là có cái câu hỏi gì liên quan không thì các bạn hỏi nha, để cho mình hiểu cái khái niệm mới này. Ok, mình nghỉ giải lao nửa tiếng nha các bạn. Part of this lecture is about how to analyze macro environment. Okay. And okay. I use the models. It's called PESTO. The PESTO, the acronyms of the PESTO is contain the 6 factors. The first one is political factors. Second is economic, social, technologies, environment, and the legal factors. Okay? And I want to give you some ideas, some core ideas. So the the PESTO model don't don't compete with the 5 forks model. Okay? We need both. We need PESTO and 5 forks model, because 5 forks model uh, help us to evaluate the underlying causes of strength of competitive forces. Okay, and then it will determine the intensity of competition, and it's also determine the variation in the rate of return between the strategic group in an industry. The PESTO its model is concerned about the macro factors. Okay, and the PESTO model explain why 5 forces are strong and weak, because the macro factors will have some significant influence on the micro factors, right? Because every industry as a part of the whole economy, and every industry is under some influence of the macro factors. Okay? And the 5 force model answer what competitive pressure is. Okay? And the PESO models will answer what what external condition that shape the pressure. Okay, and the macro environment factors change the can have the macro factors have the influence on every firm in the industry. Of course, is the macro factors have the indirect influence on the firm, because the macro have the influence on the industry, and the industry have the influence on the firm, right? So the industry in the middle of the path. Okay. Uh, so I move to the first political. Political include government stability, industry policy, trade policy, taxation, the public investment priorities, state owners, and regulation. Okay, and this how these factors can have influence on the whole industry. Okay, first I want I give you the matrix. Okay, the vertical, the column I list all the 6 macro factors, and the row I list all the competitive forces. Okay, so political factors can have influence on the first competitive force, potential competitors, okay? Because the the regulation, for example, as a political factors, can raise a legal or administrative entry barrier. Yeah? For example, if the firm want to, if a potential entrants want to enter the telecommunication industry, so they have to acquire the license provided by the government, yeah? And the telecom license limit the number of operators, number of firm operating within the telecommunication industry, right? So it's reduced the number of competitors, okay? And because the number of competitors as an underlying cause of the strength um, the competition strength, so it can lower entry the threat, yeah? Because it's difficult to enter. So the existing firm within in the industry think that okay, the industry have the high barriers, okay, because of the high barriers. So the pressure of the of the potential competitor is lower. Okay? Or for example, the banking industry, if you want to operate in the banking barriers, you have to meet the requirement, some very special requirement. For example, the capital adequacy. Okay, so you have huge money, yeah, as a requirement to operate in that industry, right? Or the state protection of the national airline block the foreign carrier or the private carrier, private airline, right? So that factors can lift up or can heighten the entry barrier. Okay? So that is the way how the political factors can manipulate, okay, the first competitive force. Okay? So I move to the second force, supplier power. How political factors can influence the strength of suppliers. Okay, so the factors the political may strengthen or weaken the suppliers. Okay, for example, the national oil or company control the fuel prices. Okay, so because that company is owned by the government, by the national, okay, and they have the privilege right to extract oil, process the oil, and then sell the oil. Okay, so the that is how political factors can influence, can improve the bargaining power of the suppliers. Okay? Um, or some company that uh, produce some defense product, right? So because a nation need those firm, because those firm produce the weapon or the defense product for and then sell to the nation, and the nation will use that for defense purpose. So those firms can be protected by the government, right? The government. So it can improve the power of the suppliers, the defense suppliers. Okay? And the buyers. And the buyer power, the political factors can improve the bargaining or the power of the buyer in the industry. For example, the political can protect the consumer by limit the price that that is charged by the firm, right? Set the selling price. Okay, firm are not allowed to set the price higher than that limit. Okay, and you can see this practice is very popular in the electricity price, right? So the government set a selling price. Okay? Or the uh, healthcare reimbursement rules will weaken the hospital bargaining power. Okay? Because the buyers of the industry, of the healthcare industry, is not the individual people. Okay, but is the insurance company. Okay, or the government agency who pay money for the treatment for the people. Okay, or the rent control can strengthen the buyer power of the tenant. Okay, and how about the rivalry? Okay, how the political factors can improve, um, can have can influence the rivalry. Okay? Mm, because some factors can distort the competition. Okay? A state-owned bank or the state-owned firm can receive the bailout, compete unfairly to the private firm, right? And some firm, for example, you can see the Vietnam Airline in Vietnam. They are maybe have some privileged rights from the government. Okay, sometimes subsidized. Okay, so that so that the the resources used to subsidize that firm will distort the competition. Okay, can raise the strength of the competitors. Okay, or some political factors try to promote and favor the domestic firm rather than the foreign firm. Right? So it can also change the intense competition between the firm within the industry. Okay? So how about economic factors? So the economic factors include for example, here the economic growth. Okay? So it will determine the income of the people, of the customer, right? And of course, it have the direct impact on the growth of the market, the growth of industry. Đấy. À, các bạn đợi tôi một xíu nhé. Okay. Okay. Okay, and next is the inflation. Inflation can reduce the purchase powers of the people in the country, right? The interest rate can have the impact on the capital cost. Okay? If there's an increase in interest rate, so the firm have to pay more money for the capital they use. Okay? And when the cost of capital increase, so the cost structures will increase. Okay? And the interest rate, in unemployment and income distribution. So we will find how economic factors can and have influence on each competitive force. How about the pressure from the potential competitors? When the capital scarcity, the capital scarcity can raise a financial entry barrier. If the interest rate in economic is high, so it will make the capital is more expensive, yeah? and and it will deter the 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 entrant. For example, if some firm want to enter the airline, okay, and want to start up in the airline industry, however, the the capital is too expensive, so they have to spend a huge investment on buying the airplane or rent the airplane. So that is the barrier. The barrier is really high, yeah? And or the inflation. The inflation can increase the upfront investment cost. Okay? So it can increase the entry barriers, especially for the startup, the small startup. Okay. Okay. How about suppliers? If the input inflation, yeah, there is an inflation, so it can strengthen the supplier. Yeah? The current the current depreciation will increase the important cost if the exchange rates increase. So the current depreciation occur, and it will increase the cost of the increase the price of the good that imported into a country, right? Or the energy price shock will empower the fuel supplier, right? Or the wage inflation can increase the labor bargaining power. So we move to the buyer's the buyer's strength. So, for example, if the inflation will push the consumer toward the private label because their purchase powers is decreased, so they are not have enough money to buy the brand the national brand product, but they have to find a cheaper alternative, right? They find the private label that the product produced by supermarket. Yeah? Or economic downturn can strengthen the retailer versus the brand. Yeah? Or okay, so I move to the how is that the influence the rivalry and strength. Uh, if um, during the economic recession, so the competition between the competitors in the industry will increase, yeah? Because uh, the customer have witnessed the decrease in the budget. Yeah? So the FMCG good firm have to reduce the price. Yeah? Or the airline have to compete aggressively in a stagnant market. Yeah? When the industry grow decrease. Yeah? Okay, so we move to the social factors. The social factors, so it's related to the demographic factors, for example, the age population growth. And as you know, in different stage of life, um, the people, the customer, they have the different problem, right? The problem. Or if some country or some economy are facing the aging population, so that economy need some service and product for the elderly, right? Example, the healthcare product, right? Rather than entertainment product, or the education level of the customer, the lifestyle chain or cultural chain or customer preference. Okay? So let's see how the social factors um, can influence can change the course of each chain, each competitive forces. Okay? First is the potential competitors. Hmm? The brand trust and the social trust or norm and reputation barriers will protect the existing competitor. Okay? Because if the potential competitors want to have market share from the existing competitors, they not only to offer the good product but lower price, so that the customer can switch to their product, because the customer now they have more than one criteria to make the decision. eh? Especially when and the customer really loyal to a firm in the industry, right? And how about the suppliers? The social factors can influence the suppliers. In this case, for example, the laborers or employee as a suppliers of labor to the firm. So if the labor as a member of an organization, for example, the labor union, labor trade, okay, or if they have a skill, so they can improve um, the position to the firm. Okay? And how about the buyers? If the buyers they aware of some social issue, okay, so they will demand the ethical, okay, ethical product. The product have to meet some expectation from them. Okay? So it can increase the um, bargaining power of the buyers. Okay? And the life cycle. And how about the substitute? Okay? So if there's a change in the customer preference, okay, so it can have the good, it represent a good opportunity for the substitute product. For example, rather go visiting the cinema, so the customer can subscribe to some platform, okay, because their preference changed, okay, from the offline to the online, to the DVD to streaming. Okay, and finally, the factors, social factor can influence the competition between competitors. So when the customer they aware of their health, so they will choose uh, the product they consume. They will consume the less product that contain much sugar, okay, and they switch to the healthy beverage, okay? So it will change the competition between the firm, the existing firm, okay? And the final is the technology factors. Technology factors uh, include the rate of technology, cold chain, automation, digitalization, R&D, okay, and how technologies can improve the entry. Okay? So if some firm they are the patent holder, and they will protect it by the entrant, because the entrant cannot enter the industry and use that patent, right? So that is a really high barrier. Okay? How about the technology influence the suppliers? So if the suppliers can have some the high differentiation in the product, so especially that industry that supplier is operating in the dominated industry, so it's improve the bargaining power of the suppliers. Okay? How about the buyers? Okay, the buyers, the technologies can help the buyers gain more information. Okay, they can solve the information asymmetry. So when they have full information, so they can have more choices. They can easily compare alternative. Okay? So it can improve um, the bargaining of the power. Yeah? How about technology affect the strength of substitute? Because technology can technologies can push the production frontier outward. Okay? So the people can create the radically new product. Okay? So that new product aim to the same problem. So it will increase the threat of substitute, because it can improve the performance of the substitute, or even reduce the price of the substitute. Okay? So when that ratio is improved in compare to the ratio of the industry product, so it can make higher pressure on the industry. Yeah. And the technology can influence the intention of competition between existing competitors. If existing competitors they are in a race of innovation, okay? They try to upgrade their product with higher or more advanced features. So for example, the smartphone industry, okay? Every firm, every brand try to improve, have to incremental improve in the features of the product. Okay? So the technologies, the environment, environment factors um, uh, can uh, can can lift the barrier up, because in order to produce some products, the entrant have to meet some requirement, environment, environmental requirement. So, for example, the carbon dioxide emission. So they have to reduce the emission. Right? So that requirement, environmental and requirement, and in terms of carbon dioxide emission, can lift up the production cost. Okay, as the entry barriers, or the suppliers. So if some supplier they possess the rare material, for example the rare earth material, so they can improve the bargaining power to the industry, right? For example, so the industry producing the high tech product like AI or semiconductors, they need the rare earth material. So, however, the supply of that material is fixed and small and relative small. So the suppliers of this type of materials have the bargaining power. The buyers. So if the buyers they really care about the environment, they want to reduce the negative impact on environment, in other words, negative externality. So they require the product that the firm trying to sell to have the negative, to have the minimal negative impact on environment, right? So the product should have the green label or the environment pro environment practice during production process. Okay, so the buyer require more than just, okay, I have the product to solve my problem. Okay? Or the substitute. Okay, if the substitute product can improve its performance in terms of it's become more eco environment, a friendly environment, right? So they can improve the performance. Okay, so they can improve the ratio of performance to the price. Okay? As you see, the EV, the electric vehicle, okay, they are the performance of EV is improved because first it have the less impact on the environment, right? And no carbon dioxide emission, right? And in compared to the fuel car, and besides that, the performance of the EV car is also improved in terms of the battery, right? So, so the environmental factors also, okay, make the, substitute product is more serious, okay, to the product of the industry. Okay? And the last one, the environment can make the competition between the existing competitors more intense. Okay? Because some firm they they are they are able to produce with some standards, green standard. Okay, and they can commit to solving, okay, to avoid every environmental or the social issue during the production process. Okay, so the firm that fail to do that will be eliminated from the industry. Okay? And the final one is a legal, is a regulation or the law. Okay? Some pharmaceutical firm, they hold a patent, okay, and if the country can successfully and effectively enforce the IP law, so the industry have the high entry barrier. Okay? Or the suppliers, if the labor law is successfully contract enforces, so the labor, the employee have the more bargaining power relative to the firm, because if the firm want to change something in the contract or have improved some term in the contract, so they still have to follow, they have to comply the labor law. Okay? and the buyers, if the law, if we have the consumer protection law, so the buyer can sue the firm if the firm don't commit some commitment, right? Okay, so they can improve. And the next one is a substitute. Substitute. How the substitute? Okay. Um, approve. Right. Okay. For example, you can see the example in the traditional taxi industry, and t- um, and Grab or Gojek. So you can see, if the government have don't have the law protect the traditional taxi, okay, by redefine the industry of the Grab or Gojek. So the traditional will heavily suffer from the product of the Grab or Gojek. Yeah. And finally, is the legal factors can distort the competition between the competitors. Yeah? So the antitrust law will not allow firm, okay, sit together and set the price or limit the quantity produced, okay, with the hope that can increase the market price. So uh, so this is the last macro factors that have the influence on the on the industry structures. Yeah, as you see, these macro factors change the underlying causes of the competitive forces. Okay? And finally, uh, the structures, the industry structure change. Okay? Okay, here I complete the final part of the lectures, macro environment, macro environment factors. Okay. So you have any question? Okay, and when we complete the analysis of the of external environment, macro and the micro, so our firm can identify the opportunity and threat. Okay? And in the macro environment, some factors, some change in the macro environment, if they make they make the industry structures more favorable to the firm or to our group, our strategic group. So it can represent as an opportunity, okay, and vice versa. Okay, so we that reason why the pestle model and the five forces model, they don't compete. Okay, they are complemented. Okay, they complement each other, one another. Okay, so we need both. Okay, so the industry is the middle level. Okay, up is the macro environment, okay? And the lowest is the firm. Okay? So we just evaluate the impact of the macro factors on the firm through the industry, okay, environment. Okay? So you have any question? cái chủ đề cuối là về cái môi trường vĩ mô. Môi trường vĩ mô thì bao gồm có 6 yếu tố ha, và các bạn thấy là 6 yếu tố này nó ảnh hưởng tới doanh nghiệp thông qua nó ảnh hưởng tới ngành, và nó ảnh hưởng tới ngành như thế nào. Nó ảnh hưởng tới ngành thông qua việc là nó làm cho một số các áp lực cạnh tranh nó trở nên mạnh hơn hay là trở nên yếu đi, và làm sao để nó làm cho những cái áp lực đó nó mạnh hơn hay yếu hơn, thì là những cái yếu tố vĩ mô này nó tác động vào những cái nguyên nhân sâu xa ở dưới từng áp lực ha. Ví dụ như là các bạn thấy là tất cả các yếu tố mà rào cản cái rào cản gia nhập này cao hay thấp, mà nó bị nhiều yếu tố từ chính trị tới kinh tế tới công nghệ nó ảnh hưởng. Nó có thể làm cái rào cản này cao hay thấp, và cũng tương tự như vậy là nó sẽ ảnh hưởng tới tất cả những cái nguyên nhân của từng cái áp lực ở đây. Và mình thấy là những cái sự thay đổi trong môi trường vĩ mô nào mà nó làm cho cái cấu trúc thị trường nó thay đổi mà nó có lợi cho doanh nghiệp và có lợi cho cái chiến lược, cái nhóm chiến lược của doanh nghiệp thì cái đó là những cái cơ hội. Còn ngược lại đó là những thách thức. Vậy thì qua đây thì mình thấy là giữa cái mô hình pesto với mô hình năm áp lực cạnh tranh là hai cái nó bổ trợ cho nhau ha. Và cái mô hình năm áp lực cạnh tranh là nó là cái lớp ở giữa ha. Mọi thứ tác động từ môi trường vĩ mô phải qua môi trường ngành ha. Sau đó mới tác động tới nhóm chiến lược của doanh nghiệp hay là tới doanh nghiệp ha. Rồi và mình khi mà mình phân tích môi trường bên ngoài này thì mình sẽ nhận diện ra được những cơ hội và những thách thức. Và những cơ hội và những thách thức này nó sẽ được tận dụng được, nó tùy thuộc vào cái nguồn lực của mỗi doanh nghiệp ở bên trong là cái nội dung mình sẽ nói tới ở sau. Rồi thì đó là cái nội dung ba cái nội dung của ngày hôm nay các bạn. Thì là về cơ bản là mình xong cái phần phân tích môi trường bên ngoài. Rồi các bạn có thắc mắc gì về phần này không? Ok, nếu mà không có gì thắc mắc thì lớp mình nghỉ ở đây nhé các bạn. Ok, chào các bạn.
Thầy ơi, cho em hỏi xíu ạ.